To Ananda's request? This is what comes up in the account of that particular incident, which to my mind raises some questions. Okay, after the Buddha has laid down these 8 conditions, and then Mahapajapati accepts them, then the Buddha tells Ananda, I know this is going to be offensive to women, and I don't like the passage either, but I have questions about it also. He says that if women had not achieved the going forth, the ordination in this teaching, then the brahmacharya, the holy life, the spiritual life, would have lasted a full 1,000 years. But because women have received the going forth into this teaching, now the holy life will last 500 years. Okay, what strikes me as peculiar about this passage is that if the Buddha is concerned to preserve the spiritual life, for its full lifespan, he should have told that to Ananda when Ananda was insisting on the ordination. Why mention it at the end, after the ordination the process of ordination has already started? And don't forget, we have to not forget that the texts have been compiled through a process of first oral transmission, and there's room for a lot of, I have to say, for tinkering and manipulation by monks who are resentful of the ordination of women. Yes, Michael. Please take the microphone. It's on, but it makes, yeah.
In the Mahayana Sutra, known as the Gautami Sutra, there's a lot of discussion about the nature of women as opposed to the nature of men. It's clearly stated that women cannot control their emotions, unlike men, and therefore there was a lot of discussion about whether or not women should receive the going forth. Is there anything like that at all, or anything of that nature to be found in the Pali Canon?
That women cannot control their emotions, unlike men who can control their emotions.
I know that sounds very strange. Of course, one could find it offensive. But
Yeah, where is this Gautami Mahayana Sutra found?
well, it's from I have a copy in English,
Yeah,
and I'll bring it to you. But and I can't give you any more details
yeah.
about it.
It's published as a separate sutra or in an anthology?
Yes, it is.
As a separate sutra.
Exactly. It hasn't been translated. To my knowledge, it was translated into English very recently.
Since I have the Samyutta Nikaya right on the table, there's a short Samyutta called Connected Discourses on Women. I want to see, because my memory is not as good as it used to be, whether there is such a sutra. Vedana Samyutta. Actually, come to think of it, it's not in the Samyutta. There are some suttas in the Anguttara Nikaya, I think it's the Book of Fives, which makes some, I have to say, some derogatory, really denigrating, harsh statements about women ascribed to the Buddha. But I just have so much question about those suttas. because, as I said, it's just so easy for, say, for misogynist monks to insert little suttas into a collection like that. Like one of them, if I can, if you don't get up and promise you won't get up and walk out on, it's called The Black Snake. It says that there's something like there are these 5 qualities of a black snake, and it mentions some of the bad qualities of a black snake. And then it says that there are these 5 qualities of women, comparing them to, in which these 5 respects in which a woman is similar to the black snake. Like she's vicious, full of venom, so that there are, you're crying. One is, okay, vicious, treacherous, poisonous, things like that. Yeah, so there are little suttas like that, but as I said, one could see how they could be slipped in. On the whole, apart from little suttas like that, I don't recall any statements like that women can't control their emotions, but men can. And when somebody tells me that men can control their emotions, I say, just look at the news. Who is responsible? Not laughing matters, for like things like, do we see women suicide bombers going into Paris and setting off their bodies to kill 130 people? Well, I have to backtrack on that, because the Tamil Tigers in Sri Lanka and over in India did use female suicide bombers, but probably because they were instigated to go by men. Matt, did you have your hand up? Yeah.
I don't understand why the Buddha says it's not easy for the former to repay the latter, but you would think that
You speak in a loud voice. I could hear you, and then I'll repeat the question. Yeah, okay, so the question is, why does the sutta say that it isn't easy to repay one who has introduced one to the Dhamma and taught one the Four Noble Truths and so on? The point is that one who introduces one to the 3 refuges, the 5 precepts and so on, the Four Noble Truths, does a very great benefit to the other person. And so the material gifts, or the visible signs of reverence that the recipient might give to the donor, as well as the material gifts that they might give, are not equivalent in value to the gift of the Dhamma that the benefactor gives to the other person. Okay, I want to move on in the sutta, unless anybody has any other urgent question. Okay, now comes an enumeration of what are called kinds. The sutta is going to make a distinction between 2 kinds of offerings, what are called personal offerings. These are offerings given to somebody as an individual, of which there will be 14 kinds mentioned, and then there will be what are called, we use the Pali word Sangika dana. These are gifts given, designated not to an individual, but to the Sangha as a communal or collective whole. Okay, so the 14 are sort of arranged as a kind of hierarchy. We call this in descending order, so that one gives a gift to the Tathagata. Then, that's the Tathagata is the Buddha. One gives a gift to a Pacceka Buddha. A Pacceka Buddha is sometimes, the expression is sometimes translated an individual enlightened one. A Pacceka Buddha is somebody who achieves enlightenment during a period when the Buddha's teaching is not known, not disseminated in the world. So the Pacceka Buddhas are depicted as living somewhat reclusive, ascetic lives, and then realizing on their own the truth of the Dhamma, but they don't make the attempt to propagate the Dhamma in the world, but they preserve their realization within themselves. Okay, then comes the gift to an Arahat disciple. Then this is interesting for one who knows sort of the technicalities of the Dhamma. One gives a gift to one who has entered upon the way to the realization of the fruit of arhatship. Let me go through the whole list, then I'll come to the interesting point about this. Okay, one gives a gift to a non-returner. One gives a gift to one who is practicing the way to realization of the fruit of non-return. One gives a gift to a once-returner. One gives a gift to one who is on the way to realizing the fruit of the once-returner. One gives a gift to a stream enterer. One gives a gift to one who has entered upon the way to realization of the fruit of stream entry. Okay, now there's an interesting problem here. What is the problem? We need our doctrinal specialists to come up with the problem. Poe, do you see a little problem there? Yeah, this is the problem. According to the Abhidhamma and commentarial understanding, what is meant by one who is on the way to realization is one who has achieved the magga or path. And the path is supposed to be one mind moment of realization, the one mind moment in which one penetrates the Four Noble Truths. And so if the path is just one mind moment, and the one who is on the way to the fruit of stream entry, once return, non-return, arhatship, if that is the one at that path moment, how do you make the gift to one who exists just for one fleeting mind moment? So the commentary sort of feels a little embarrassed by this, and it tries to explain it that somebody is making an offering, say, to the monk, and they put the food in the alms bowl, and just as the food, say, hits the bottom of the alms bowl, that monk has the realization of the Four Noble Truths. And so, for that one mind moment, they are receiving the gift. But of course that goes against, common sense, and I think we have to understand this from the standpoint of common sense. So the way I would understand this is that this is a gift to one who is really practicing earnestly for the attainment of the corresponding fruit. Even though that course of practice might culminate in one moment of realization, but one could still describe the person as practicing or on the way to realization of the fruit, even while they're continuing maybe for days and weeks and months, even years of earnest practice. Okay, so that's the 10th personal gift. Then one gives a gift to one outside, this is called one outside the dispensation, who is free from lust for sensual pleasures. This is an expression for one who has achieved the jhanas or the formless meditative absorptions. Okay, then one gives a gift to a virtuous ordinary person, that is to one who has not reached any realization, probably not yet reached even the jhanas, but who has virtuous qualities, and is practicing. I say this is probably intending, and it's a little unclear whether it intends a virtuous ordinary person to be any ordinary person, or one who is within the Buddha's teaching but has not yet reached any stage of realization. Okay, then one gives a gift to an immoral ordinary person, and then one gives a gift to an animal. So that's the 14 kinds of personal offerings. And I have to, again, confess a little bit at the outset, I have some doubts about some things in the sutta. I could see numerous little problems with it. One thing is the unclarity whether the virtuous ordinary person is somebody, on the street who's observing an ethical life, or whether it's referring specifically to somebody, say, within the Buddha's teaching who's undertaken the 5 precepts. And then the same with the immoral ordinary person. Does this mean somebody on the outside who's just living an immoral life? Or is it referring to somebody who is within the Buddha's teaching? Particularly, probably, the indication would be an immoral monk. Okay, then if we take it in the narrow sense, the virtuous ordinary person, the immoral person, as being the virtuous and immoral ordinary people within the Buddha's teaching, then what happens about all of the virtuous people and immoral people outside the Buddha's teaching? They wouldn't be covered. Okay, then I find still a little more problem coming with the next paragraph. Okay, by giving a gift to an animal, the offering may be expected to repay 100-fold. That is, the merit is going to come back in good results 100 times the value of the gift. Okay, by giving to an immoral ordinary person, the offering repays 1,000-fold. To a virtuous ordinary person, the offering may be expected to repay 100,000-fold. By giving the gift to one outside who is free from lust for sensual pleasures, the offering may be expected to repay 100,000 times 100,000-fold. By giving a gift to one who has entered upon the way to stream entry, the offering may be expected to repay incalculably, immeasurably, and then it's immeasurable, incalculable, all the ways up to the Tathagata, the fully enlightened one. Okay, I hope I'm not going to be called up to the authorities in Colombo or Rangoon or Bangkok for some of these queries, but it seems to me suspicious, the way these merits are calculated with such mathematical precision. 100-fold, 1,000-fold, 100,000-fold. That seems somewhat problematic to me. That one could calculate precisely the amount of merits that's coming from a gift to this kind of person, that kind of person. Yeah.
In the most general sense, this is the style of many of the Mahayana sutras. The Lotus Sutra gives
Yeah.
a lot of different kinds of increases.
Yeah.
Does this indicate that there's an influence here?
I would doubt that there was an influence from the Mahayana on this, because I think my conjecture is that the sutta was probably formalized in some kind of fixed form before the actual rise of the Mahayana, But it seems to have that a little bit of that flavor, that kind of way of thinking that becomes embodied much more expansively and in much greater detail in the Mahayana Sutras. And also something I find a little problematic here is that the idea of giving is always conceptualized in terms of giving in order to acquire merit as some kind of feedback or benefit coming back to oneself. And there's the idea that the act of giving is always conceptualized in terms of a religiously or spiritually worthy act. And so one doesn't have a conception here of giving to what I call the poor, the unfortunate, the needy. I found the antidote to this in a Mahayana Sutra, which has come down in China. The conjecture is that it's a compilation, probably based on older Indian sources. I just took some notes on that before the class. This sutra, called the Upasika Sila Sutra, the precepts or the virtue of a lay follower, distinguishes two fields of giving. One is called the field of merits, or the field of the venerable, or the field of reverence, we could call it, and then the field of the needy. And so it says that then it uses pairs of qualities that are to be developed by giving to these two respective fields of gifts. So to increase virtue, it says, one gives to the poor. To increase wisdom, one gives to the field of reverence. Out of gratitude, one gives to the field of reverence, and out of compassion, one gives to the needy. To abandon defilements, one gives to the field of reverence. To perfect virtuous qualities, one gives to the poor. To increase happiness, one gives to the field of reverence. To relieve suffering, one gives to the poor. And so to my mind, that passage brings in a certain balance which I find absent from this sutta. Okay, let us continue so that because time is running out and I want to finish the sutta. Okay, so these are the gifts to individuals, gifts that are designated to individuals. Now come the 7 kinds of offerings made to the Sangha. Okay, first, one gives a gift to what is called the Ubatto Sangha. This is the Sangha of both, and that is a stock expression used to indicate a Sangha with both bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. So a Sangha of both bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, headed by the Buddha. And we could see here why I say that there's an anachronism in the sutta. What is the anachronism? Pretty obvious. Yeah, exactly. It mentions bhikkhunis, whereas the beginning of the sutta, the protagonist is Mahapajapati Gotami, and from all indications, as I said, she's still a laywoman. So something is wrong. Either this is a later passage which has come in, which is quite conceivable. After the Bhikkhuni Sangha arose, there could have been an older sutta that was then modified to take account of the existence of bhikkhunis. Either that or the story about Mahapajapati as being the first bhikkhuni, that could also be legendary. Perhaps there were just ordinary women came and asked to become bhikkhunis, and somehow bhikkhuni ordination started. Then to sort of glorify the origins of the Bhikkhuni Sangha by connecting it to the Sakyan family, Mahapajapati gets cast in the role of the first bhikkhuni. We don't know, because all of this is taking place, 2,500 years ago, and the text probably, emerged despite the legend of the first council, but the texts, as they've come down, probably emerged over a period of 150 years, perhaps. Okay, so then we have, that's the first gift to the Sangha. Then the second is a gift to the Sangha, both Sanghas, after the Buddha has attained parinibbana. Again, that sort of indicates a bit that it's could be later, not necessarily, but it could be later. And so what's in standard procedure in a country like Sri Lanka, when people are giving an offering to the Sangha, they don't like the Buddha to be absent. And so what is done is to bring relics of the Buddha enshrined in a casket and set them up on the altar. And so then when one is offering the gift to the Sangha, one offers it to the Buddha and to the Sangha. The Buddha represented by the relics in the casket and by the image, the statue of the Buddha. Okay, so that's the second. The third is one gives a gift to the Sangha only of bhikkhus, then one gives a gift to a Sangha only of bhikkhunis. That is where one just invites bhikkhus or bhikkhunis in general to come for an alms offering. The next cases is where one says, appoint so many bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. That is, one has like a limited alms offering, send 5 bhikkhus, 5 bhikkhunis. Then the next one says, appoint so many bhikkhus, and the next one, the last one, appoint so many bhikkhunis to come. So in this case, one say appoint 5 bhikkhus, appoint 5 bhikkhunis. Each one is taken to represent the whole Sangha. Okay, then we come to a rather perplexing passage. In future times, there will be members of the clan, and here the term used is Gotrabu, who are yellownecks. I didn't look up the Pali expression for that before I came here. I think it's kasava kanta. That is, they have the saffron strip or saffron cloak around the neck. Immoral, of evil character. People who give gifts to these immoral persons, people will give gifts to these immoral persons for the sake of the Sangha, that is, taking them to represent the Sangha. Even then, I say an offering made to the Sangha is incalculable, immeasurable, and I say that in no way is a gift to a person individually ever more fruitful than an offering made to the Sangha. Okay, then the commentary, I have a note from the commentary, says that a gift offered to an immoral monk taken to represent the entire Sangha is more fruitful than a gift offered on a personal basis to an arahant. Okay, but then this is what the commentary says. But for the gift to be properly presented to the Sangha, the donor must take no account of the personal qualities of the recipient, but must see him solely as representing the Sangha as a whole. Okay, Venerable Analayo, in his comparative study, if I understand him correctly, he says that the Chinese parallel to the sutta speaks about that monk not as one who is evil and immoral, but as a lazy monk, one who is not initiating energy. Okay, this passage again I find perplexing and somewhat problematic. Okay, we have evil, immoral monks, or even lazy, let's say lazy, negligent monks. Okay, what is done, the tradition in Sri Lanka is not to choose lazy, immoral or lazy monks, but one invites monks from the temple or the monastery for a Sangha, and then one makes it in the mind as what's called a Sangika Dana. So one says, Imang Bhikkhang Bhikkhu Sangasa Dema. So these offering items we offer to the Bhikkhu Sangha, and the way the monks explain this is that when you make it a Sangika Dana, an offering to the Sangha, then one is giving it to the entire Sangha that has existed from the time of Sariputta, Moggallana, Mahakassapa, Ananda. All of those are included in your intention of giving this gift. So even though you have like ordinary monks sitting there, who are just performing the rituals in the temple, let's leave aside the immoral monks, but say they're good monks, but just not monks who haven't achieved any level of realization, but just performing the routine duties of a monk. But by thinking, I'm making this offering to the whole Sangha through all historical time, then it becomes a Sangika Dana, an offering designated to the whole Sangha, and it's supposed to generate a great incalculable mass of merit. I don't have the divine eye, so I can't see how much merit is being generated, but I just find it problematic, the idea that, okay, after these great Arhat monks have passed away, and one is making the offerings to the Sangha represented by individual monks, say one has 10 monks from the nearby temple or monastery, can they really represent the whole Sangha coming from the time of the Buddha all the ways down the centuries? This I don't know, but I just find it difficult to believe that somebody making a Sangika Dana to the Sangha in the Buddha's time with those monks like Sariputta, Moggallana, Ananda, Mahakassapa there will be generating the same kind of merit that comes from somebody who makes it in the offering in 2015 to the monks at Sri Bodhi Rama Temple in Kandy, Sri Lanka. Does it work that way? I don't know. Okay, maybe I'll ask now whether there are any questions or comments. What do you think about some of this? Yeah. I'm a bit worried whether the doubts I'm expressing Mm.
as it's reflected in merit.
Mm.
It seems to me that somehow the spirit and the letter,
Mm.
I'm having trouble differentiating between the spirit and the letter here. If
Mm.
the spirit of giving is first of all impersonal, the act of giving
Mm.
producing the feeling that the person receiving the gift
Yeah.
is worthy or unworthy or
Yeah.
higher or
Yeah.
lower,
Yeah.
but it becomes a process of the object and the subject becoming one, a kind of a oneness identified in the gift. In other words, if we understand that there is no self,
Yeah.
there's no self
Yeah.
to give to, and there's no self to give from. So we try to meditate on those ideas maybe before giving the gift. And now I'm rambling. Forgive me.
yeah, yeah,
And I find it very difficult to feel it and to understand it.
yeah. I have to say I share to some extent those same kind of scruples or concerns, except I would say that I do think it's important to be generating merits in order to provide what I would call a foundation of wholesome karma to secure oneself, as long as one is going to migrate within the cycle of birth and death, to secure oneself favorable conditions for one's next existence. One wouldn't want to be reborn if one comes back into the human world, into a country which is torn by war, conflict, extreme poverty, extreme climate crises, and so forth. And then also accumulating merits provides a foundation for one's spiritual progress in the practice. So in that sense, I could see the value of the concept of merit. What troubles me is the idea that one sort of starts evaluating persons. Is this one worthy of a worthy field of merit? Is that one? And since in this particular schema that I mentioned here, there's, when you look at, say, poor people, they don't come to the qualification, generally probably not, of being a stream enter on the way to stream entry. So one thinks, so they're less worthy of gifts than those who are, practicing earnestly. And so that leads to a neglect of, the poor and the unfortunate. In this way, I have to say, with this standpoint, there's so much in Christianity that I disagree with, but I take to heart the saying of Jesus, those who do it to the least among them, do it unto me.
I wonder too if I can add one
Yeah.
thing, that the last stanza of the verse in paragraph 14 uses the word passionless. And I wonder if that reflects something of what we're talking about.
Yeah, this is probably, I think this is probably coming from Jnanamoli's original translation. I think it's vitaraga, one who is devoid of raga or lust. Yeah. Yeah, so this is actually speaking about, so when a passionless person gives with a trusting heart a gift righteously obtained, placing faith that the fruit of action is great, that gift, I say, is the best of worldly gifts. So this is said to be a gift that one arhat might give to another arhat, but that gift is not generating any merit because the arhat is finished with creating merit. So the point here is that that a gift that doesn't generate any merit because it's coming from an arhat is the best of gifts. But you were suggesting that this might be seen in the light of the point that you were making before, where you're.
Yeah, in the light of the spirit in which the gift is giving, one could say in the light of the arhat spirit, perhaps.
Yeah.
In the light of
Yeah.
objective,
Yeah.
perhaps less personalized.
Yeah. 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 Anyway, we can just look at the verses after lunch because now the time has run out. So I didn't get to cover everything in the sutta, but after lunch we'll come back and we'll look at the last section and the verses. Okay, so now we do the sharing. One of the points in acquiring merit is that one is not supposed to sort of grasp onto it and think this is mine, but when one acquires the merit, one is supposed to invite other beings to rejoice in it, and in that way one shares the merit with others. And so we'll end with sharing the merits to the Dhamma protecting deities, the fierce spirits, and all other beings. Akasata chabhumata deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu sasanang. Akasata chabhumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Desanang Akasata Jabumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Mang Parang Etavatacham Hehi Sampadang Punya Sampadang Sabe Devanumodantu Sabe Bhutanumodantu Sabe Satanumodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya Bhavagupadaya Vichihetato Etantare Satakayupapana Rupya Rupicha Asanya Sanyino Dukkha Pamuchantu Pusantu Nibuting. Okay, we could come back, say 12:30. And just bear in mind that next week, because there'll be a retreat going on here, so there won't be a class. So the next class will be December 5th. And then we'll start to get into the sixfold base. We'll start with 143. Maybe I'll try to do 143 and 145 in one day. Okay, so we end with 3 half bows to the Buddha.